Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype, here on your Friday, April 18th, 2025. Let's go see what we're tracking here for today. We're expecting severe weather all Easter weekend long. We'll show you what areas are going to be under the gun for the potential for some severe weather and what we're looking at. We're also going to take a look at next week and let you know if we're going to get a break from that severe weather or not, or if it's going to continue to be a trend as we get ready to wrap up the month of April. Speaking of the rest of the month of April, it looks like above normal temperatures. Yep, they're going to be sticking around for a big, large part of the country. We'll show you the latest from the Climate Prediction Center on that. Now, before we get going, first, if we have any new subscribers out there, thank you for coming on board. And if you're not yet a subscriber, you got to help me out because I'm losing some bots out there. Help get our numbers back up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, if you like what you see, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate you guys' help here on the channel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture. Boy, we got some hefty thunderstorms here moving up in through Wisconsin for this morning. These are the same cluster of storms that dropped a couple tornadoes across Iowa and Nebraska yesterday. A couple of supercells there, pretty nasty. They have not heard of any fatalities. That's good news here, but we have to watch out for more severe weather all weekend long here, especially here in the middle of the country as this upper level feature here kind of swing on out of the Rockies. It's also dropping some snows out here as well. West Coast, you're pretty quiet from Seattle all the way down to Los Angeles. You guys got a great weekend ahead. Not looking too bad out here on the West Coast. Let's look at the big picture here. We do have flash flood watches up here across portions of Missouri and Oklahoma and Arkansas. Anticipation of those thunderstorms will be training over the same ground, so some heavy rains are expected through here. Here's the snow, the winter storm warnings across portions of Wyoming coming down all the way into New Mexico, and then we'll show you the snow totals expected out here for the weekend. I'm sure some skiers taking advantage of this as we're almost done with the ski season here for 2025. All right, let's look at the surface map right now. Get quiet along the eastern seaboard. Here's some hefty thunderstorms. We'll take a look at those up there into Wisconsin in a second. A little bit of snow is out here across areas of Wyoming coming into Colorado. And West Coast, again, high and dry, looking pretty good all the way up from Washington State down into Southern California. Let's go look at those big hefty thunderstorms coming into the Madison area right there. Boy, they got some pretty good halos right there. Look at that new severe thunderstorm warning just got issued in for this zone. So these storms will continue to move off toward the east, heading over toward the Milwaukee area for today. Then we'll get a bit of a break, and then we'll have to see if we get some more activity to fire here for later this afternoon. In that sense, we'll go ahead and take a look at the list from the Storm Prediction Center, and we'll go ahead and take a look at where we're anticipating that severe weather for today. You see that area up there is under the gun for severe weather, as we're obviously getting hit for this morning with some of that severe weather currently hitting to the Madison area. So we're talking about up here getting hit pretty good, but all the way back into areas of Texas, also expected to get hit with some severe thunderstorms that'll be moving from the southwest to the northeast. All right, let's go and break down the different categories for day one. There's your tornado risk. Looks like the highest risk down here in the brown, down here across Oklahoma and Texas. So that's where our storm chasers will be, but running 2% up here toward areas of Illinois for today. What about our hail and wind threat? Well, let's look at the wind threat. That's running about 15%, obviously in that elongated area there, obviously where that slight risk is. That's where the highest risk will be running, about 15%. And how about hail? How's that looking? Yeah, about the same general area here for today. How about day two? Let's go into day two, check it out, and look at that. It looks like that pretty much in the same area, maybe a little bit further off toward the east up here toward the north, but notice the slight risk still kind of coming in through Missouri, down through Texas here for your Saturday. We'll break down the categories for that as well. The tornado risk, again, running about 5% there across central Texas. Have to watch that closely. Surrounded by that green area there with the slight risk. That includes, of course, the Dallas metro area as well. And the wind threat, now that's running, again, about 15%. So that'll be Dallas and Arlington and Garland, Texas under the gun, all the way up into southern Missouri up toward Springfield. Looking at that severe weather risk with the high gusty winds. We're talking winds up for upwards of 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat, now that's pretty much in the same exact zone. So Texas is probably the target hot spot there for hail. How about day three going into your Easter Sunday? Well, we got a little pocket there we have to watch there in the middle of the country across Missouri, Arkansas, parts of East Texas and northern Louisiana. That'll be the slight risk there. You got the green there surrounded behind that with that marginal risk going in Easter Sunday. So we got all 3 days expecting severe weather. Now, the good news is days 4 through 7 from the Storm Prediction Center showing absolutely nothing out there. So hopefully once we get past these next 3 days, we get to catch our collective breaths a little bit and take a little bit of a break. Now, because those storms are going to be hitting over the same ground, we got to talk about the excessive rainfall risk here, as we do have that, especially going into tomorrow. Now, for today, on your Friday, you got that slight risk there across Missouri and Oklahoma. That is where we can see localized flooding for today. But this kicks up as we go into day 2. Going into tomorrow, look at that moderate risk there, much larger area there from Missouri, stretching back into portions of North Texas. So those zones, obviously we showed you where the flash flood watches were. Those areas have to be watch out for isolated flooding. And this area got hit pretty hard with some heavy rains earlier in the month. So we'll have to track that for your Saturday. And then going into Sunday, it backs off a little bit still, but still looking at fairly large margin risk for isolated flooding here across the middle portion of the country. And we'll show you those rainfall amounts here in just a second. We break down the model data. Now, speaking of model data, let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's look at the jet stream first. That's that river of air about 35,000 feet or so, 30,000 feet or so, that drives our weather systems, okay? So what we're looking at right now is a fairly active pattern. You got this energy that's kicking on out of the Rockies that's spurring our severe weather through here. I want you to pay attention to the higher gust winds here. Obviously, when you start seeing the yellows and reds, that's your higher jet energy. Now, we're going to have that for the weekend, but as I progress in the next week and going into the end of the month for the whole 2-week run, so it's kind of backing off a bit. So that usually indicates to me that after this weekend, I'm not seeing anything that's going to be too hefty, at least on the current model data. All right, so you see the high jet energy there going into tonight and going into tomorrow. So we definitely see that with this this low system kicking out of the Four Corners region. You're seeing the jet energy coming on out of here. So that's what's going to be kind of invigorating our storms here for this weekend. Now, this low will begin to move on out. It slides on up as we go in toward your Monday. So this kind of flattens on out. And notice as we head toward Tuesday, you're looking at a fairly flat flow here and not very high jet energy. Here's your subtropical jet down here. Not seeing anything that's going to cause a problem. So let's go ahead and take this beyond Tuesday. Let's see what it looks like here. As we got another little piece of energy coming here on the West Coast. There's that little energy here going in toward the 25th and 26th. But notice the quality of the jet energy, not very high. This slides inland. We're going to watch this. This will go in toward the 28th and 29th. And now this could set off a little severe weather here. Couldn't rule this out, but notice the energy is not very high, that's for sure, as we go in toward the 29th and 30th. And this kicks on out. And then we got a bit of a trough here. Looks like we may get a cool shot try to come here across the eastern third of the United States toward the end of the run, toward the second. Now, obviously, we got to see if this is going to be a model trend or not, because it hasn't been there the last few. So, again, that's the long-range projection going out to day 14 and 15. All right, let's go ahead and focus in on the high resolution. We're looking at the short-range model. What I want you to pay attention to is here in the middle of the country. Obviously, we got some snows down here going into New Mexico as well. And there's our cluster of storms we're dealing with for this morning right now. So, again, watch that timestamp there in that upper right-hand corner as I take you on through this. Again, we're going to see the storms start to erupt here as we go into the evening hours here for tonight. So you're seeing that those thunderstorms are riding through here. We'll have to watch for that severe weather. There's the snows across Colorado and coming into areas of Arizona and New Mexico, getting some hefty snows there at the higher elevations. And those storms will continue throughout the day on your Saturday, going into Saturday morning, and then we'll see some more storms. Again, so you see it kind of it's training over the same ground. Okay, when that happens, that's why we got those flooding worries going into tomorrow, as those storms are going to kind of continue to for hours, kind of sit over the same ground, and more thunderstorms fire up and get very hefty. And notice by the time we get to 2 o'clock in the morning going in towards Sunday, you got some pretty good hefty thunderstorms there as that upper level low starts to kick on out going in towards Sunday. So we got 3 days of watching this. Now we'll take this beyond this period. We're going to look at the European model here, as again, we're watching the low pressure system that's going to start to kick on out of here, and that'll kick off that severe weather a little bit further off toward the east. Again, that day 3 was from Missouri down toward Louisiana. So as we go in through your Easter Sunday, this kind of swings up toward the north. You see the storms there kind of flaring up here going into Easter evening here, Sunday night. So we'll have to watch that going into the nighttime late in the day on Sunday as that storm tracks off toward the east. And then as this goes on by, just a general thunderstorm. It looks like most of the country is going to be pretty warm. All right, so pretty warm here across the country. So wherever it gets any kind of precipitation, like for example here on Wednesday or across Texas, probably going to have some thunderstorms in there, but it doesn't appear to be anything severe for next week. You might not see a marginal pocket here and there, but I'm not seeing any significant severe weather here for next week. A little bit of a break there. Got a frontal system here coming into the northeast, going in toward the 27th, 28th. You see the rains there on the 27th. That's next Sunday. And then this moves on off, and then we'll see, again, nothing major. Don't see any big storm systems here. There's a little cool shot coming down here. You see that the freezing line, a little cold shot coming into the northeast. But otherwise, not looking too bad here as we get ready to go into the month of May. All right, let's talk about the thunderstorms on the short range. I want to look at the K index. Again, that's kind of looks at different parameters on where we're going to see the thunderstorms develop. We're going to watch this here just basically through the weekend. I'm going to use the short term on this, but you see the storms there flaring up going into Saturday into this general zone right through here. And you're going to see a pretty decent squall line here start to develop, especially as that upper low kind of kicks on out. So here's our squall line going late in the day on your Sunday. So this is Easter Sunday. You're seeing Missouri back toward Texas. We'll have to watch for that severe weather on that day 3 hot zone there. And then this will push off toward the east and start to settle on down. And not looking bad as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So let's go ahead and talk about the rainfall totals. Again, we got to worry about that, especially there in the middle of the country. So let's go ahead and take this out for the next 7 days. We'll do a 7-day total here. Take it on out to about 180. So we'll take this out to about 180. So there's your 7 day. Obviously, see the heavier rain's going to fall here into this zone. So I'm basically thinking anywhere up to maybe some localized areas up to 2 to 5. Sometimes when you get this kind of situation, the models tend to underestimate just a little bit. So I would not shock me if we get a little bit higher. And then as we take it beyond the 7 day and go out to the end of this run, you see where most of the rainfall is definitely staying here in the middle of the country. So above normal precipitation was going to be impacting most of the middle part of the nation from, say, Wisconsin back toward Texas as we go for the next 2 weeks. Now, we're not done with winter weather yet. We do have some winter weather to talk about. It's predominantly out here in the west. This will be going in for today and into this tomorrow. So again, we're talking about Colorado and into New Mexico and Arizona, the higher elevations again. The skiers want to get that last chance to get some good skiing in. This is definitely a good weekend for Easter weekend, as we're going to have the snow here falling through the weekend, and that should be about it. I'm not seeing a whole lot more after this goes on by here as far as the next 2 weeks. I'll go and take this all the way out, and not showing it. Got a little bit up there across Montana and Idaho, but looks like the bulk of the heavy snow, we may be getting ready to go ahead and wind down the season on that. Now, the last thing we look at here is we're looking at the temperature anomaly map. We're looking at 850 here. All right, so what we're looking at is where the battle zones are going to be setting up. Where is the cold air running into that warm air? Obviously, you clearly see where the battle zone is for now with this cold pool going this way, and you see the warm air ahead of it. We got a big high on here toward the south, and of course, it's kind of pumping in the warm, moist air in and around this system. So let's go ahead and take this forward again as we kind of watch what happens here. Is we're going to watch that upper low here for this weekend kind of spin on out. Here's that low as by the time we get into Sunday morning start to kick on out here, and as it plows into that warmer air, that's what's going to set up those storms here going into Easter Sunday. So this kind of moves on off and it clears on out. But one thing we notice for next week, a lot of red on this map for next week. You see that pretty much almost from coast to coast. So above normal temperatures kicking on in here, and it looks like we stays pretty much there all weekend. We've got another little disturbance coming out here. We'll have to watch here. Obviously, got a little cool pull, got a warm pull in here going in toward, say, the 25th and 26th of April. Got a cool shot here coming in off the Pacific there, off California, but I'm worried about them. That moves on off to the east. And then we're going to watch and see if we get another cold shot. Look at it, very warm there going in toward the 29th. Wow, I mean, a lot of the country here, very warm with above normal temperatures. You got the high pressure sitting down here, and you see a very warm wind here going into the Ohio River Valley and areas of the Midwest. And then we get a little cold shot. Here's that cold shot coming down here as we head toward the 1st and 2nd. Now, again, I want to see if we got a trend on this. This is something that was not there on the last run, and whether we're going to see another cold shot come down here across the areas of the Midwest, the Northeast, and maybe even cooling down to the Southeast. We'll wait and see on that to see if that's going to come true or not. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. Looking at your climate outlook here. It looks like we're in store for a warm period, that's for sure. Check out 6 through 10, the 23rd through 27th. Most of the country here pretty warm, except for out here on the West Coast. And as we go a little bit deeper into the month, taking us all the way out to May 1st, getting ready to go into the new month, again, pretty warm. Now, again, you saw the long range going the 1st and 2nd was hinting at maybe a cool shot coming down. But again, we got to look for model tendencies. Is that something that's going to come true, or is it just a fantasy land on the model or not? As far as precipitation is concerned, we're definitely seeing the above normal precipitation here in the middle of the country from the 23rd to the 27th. And that trend pretty much holds true here. backs off a little bit here toward the east. Looks like below normal precipitation there across parts of the southeast, and near normal or slightly above normal out here on the west coast. So the good news is we've got, after we get through this next 3 days, I think we get to another period of kind of collecting our breaths once again from the severe weather. Now this outbreak, I'll say over the next 3 days, is not nearly as bad as what we saw that first week in April. We remember how bad we had moderate to high risk there for multiple days over like 7-8 days in a row. So nothing like that. We just got to get through this weekend, but you need to stay weather prepared. One thing that showed you last night, we had a very small area that was under enhanced area. We had a couple of supercell thunderstorms that both dropped a couple tornadoes and caused some damage. So although we're not expecting anything too widespread, not expecting a super outbreak, you never know. You got to be prepared in your local areas. Make sure you have your best weather app on here, ready to go. I always like to promote the weather radios. Always tell folks, go get one of these. You get them at your local drugstore, especially those nighttime thunderstorms that can be a little bit scary if they turn severe, and especially if they turn tornadic. So again, check on that. All right, that's y'all's update. Hope you guys have a blessed and great Easter weekend with your families, and we'll keep a watchful eye. I'm doing a complete redesign on our severe weather coverage, folks. I'm very excited. We have a nice upgrade on our alert system. We're working out some bugs out on this thing, but it's definitely a very high quality look, and I would put it up against anything out there on YouTube. It looks very, very nice, and we're going to be hopefully be able to unveil it. I'm not sure if we'll get through it this weekend. We're still kind of working out some bugs, but it's definitely going to be something I'm very excited about. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. Until then, y'all have a great and safe weekend. Bye, everybody.